slides? Okay, and luckily the time was not clicking yet. Okay, so welcome everybody to my session on industry-grade wireless networks. So it's always an immense pleasure to be in Korea. As many also said before, this is so dynamic and so advanced. It's always a pleasure to see how things are moving here. Unfortunately, my voice has been a little bit suffered due to the bad weather in Germany, so I hope I bring it through these 30 minutes. So yes, I'm responsible for standardization and I'm also a member of 5G ACIA board, but indeed the 3GPP roadmap has been covered extremely well this morning by a colleague from LG, and then of course the status update from 5G ACIA by Afif, so I'm not going to talk about that. What I will talk indeed about is industry-grade wireless networks. And I was listening attentively to the exit presentation of Ono-san, and of course all his bon mots and jokes and so on. And I realized and one of this was the 5G hype, and I realized on the first presentation where 5G is not even in the title. So it's about industry-grade wireless networks. So I will first talk where we are today, and then both sort of in the 5G side of things, maybe they're repeating some numbers that you have seen before, and then giving some of the situation how Industry 4.0 meets capabilities of the wireless networks today. And then I will talk about some of the deployment scenarios in more depth and the spectrum situation and how we go from today to industrial 5G. So why I don't use this word industry 5G in the title is because this is not limited to 5G. So where are we today? Today, of course, there are two things which are as an obvious starting point today. The one is where are we with 5G, and you have seen these numbers in a different layout before. So now we had this workshop here last year. I was also there, and since then, of course, we have we have now 100K 5G enabled sites. We have 5 million subscribers. We have a clearly superior user experience of the 5G subscriber in the networks than in 4G, and in Nokia we are blessed to be the supplier of all three networks. So I said you have seen this before, and I think it can't be emphasized enough that in terms of population layout, in terms of subscriber density and relative subscriber, Korea is clearly leading 5G, and this is a fantastic achievement. So then globally, of course, 5G has been also rolled out around the globe. It was said that there are more than 40 networks now live, and of these we are supplying the order of magnitude of 20, and in total we have over 50 5G contracts, of course, with the lead markets being then here Korea, and then US, and then Japan, and then closely following with some other advanced markets also in Europe. So where are we then on the industry-grade wireless networks? And I noticed that the slide doesn't mention that explicitly, but if you talk today about industry-grade wireless networks, this means 4G, or in 3GPP marketing terminology, LTE Advanced Pro, or in Nokia, sophisticated marketing terminology 4.9G. So this is of course happening today. We have networks that are deployed. I will have a little bit more on the numbers. And So the session is called Smart Manufacturing, but industry-grade networks, of course, go beyond that. And you have here below 5 different segments. Maybe better to read. So we have five different segments that are typical of what is starting today. So you see at the left, and this is like real commercial deployment, real Nokia customer, solar and wind energy network. What you see in the fine print are sort of the real issues and use cases that are being solved. So this is not aspirational, but this is sort of a summary of sophisticated use cases, but quality control and the control of the automated guided vehicles and so on is real networks. Real network configurations. So the one is this mining scenario. So this is sort of a large Australian company, haulage. So for these large trucks, driver configuration. There are two things to see. One, number of deployed equipment. I have hard time to read it, but it's of course much smaller than public network. So we have like, what is it saying, 42 radios and 2 cores deployed. The other one is that customers really are looking for an end-to-end solution, and the end-to-end solution for the end devices that's typically not multi-vendor, and this is run by the operator, one solution, and they then also need the whole portfolio. The second part is this field area network example, where the configuration has much more radios. I think we are at solar power wireless connectivity network for civilians. So this is a typical example of what happens today. Across these different sections, so transportation sector, energy, so almost evenly distributed, and it's how we have been deploying over 120 networks. And you see some of the example as a Korean example. Today, why? So the one is the strong drivers that we are seeing for of the also touristic industries, banking, financing, media, so all these more realization of what we call the physical industries, which are some of the revolution comes from, and also the need to find a communication solution for that. And what are they looking for more efficient to lot size? Insights, for example, in quality control, you see hauling example. Of course, there's the efficiency, but there's also the worker safe arm are the drivers. But then it is very key and geared to them to be made what they are performance. So this is sort of for motion control of a robot arm. And then the efficiency field. So that means it's applicable network where all the windmills are and all the solar collectors are when we don't satisfy this. 2 types of applications. So even every heavy asset industry also has a part which is typically governed by IT, which is all these office products people are using. And of course then all the office suites and all this IT which is used, for example, in the R&D and the administrative part of the business. This is which is common to the operational technology part of the business. This is where they run the production. And they, of course, have tighter requirements. Typically, they have been run by different units. One is in the same company. So we have then this side, but there is a lot of time. So what we are saying that you have concerning utilization, the next one I want to say about the deployment scenarios between private and mobile networks, win-win, I want to call it. So what we see is, depending on the assignments, Afif mentioned that in the 5G ACA we have both mentioned in the reference architecture, but also in real, both are happening in the market. So I think the smaller the site is, the more likely then the solution can be a dedicated private network. If it gets larger, typically it would be more likely be a public network slice. But this is sort of only a rule of thumb. Both is possible. The private network is then really privately deployed and run by the company. The public network would be then a shared slice by a mobile network operator. So here's an example where both are deployed in parallel. So you have a factory site where some of the traffic is going out to MNO core, where there is some application which runs there, like a streaming application, where others are then go out at the edge of the network, which is then in the industry premise, where there, for example, is then more critical control room application that controls then the flow of the machine. Here is the campus deployed, and on the campus you have a own infrastructure which is deployed, which uses here, as I'm from Germany, frequency with own deployment, and then there is a campus cloud. So this is all deployed by the factory itself, run by the factory itself, and has then one. This is then not first class, the enterprise. Especially last year, it was not clear how the licensing would be. Give all the frequencies in national licenses. And then there was the OT industry who said not being able to have public service. And this was a huge debate. Now the regulator made its decision, and I will show what it looks like. But we don't think that's true. So when these were deployed to someone, it's for free. This GPX could be deployed by, could be a service on the manufacturer directly. But as it goes, I guess a lot of traffic that is generated, that was generated in the public enterprise. So we in fact will clearly stimulate the whole investment in 5G overall, and will not be. As the second last point, just some words on spectrum. Yeah, maybe I start that. So last month I was shortly in Egypt, also attending this IT World. Great success for our industry. We got quite significant news and assurance on new spectrum. So it is also illustrative that this is the front page of the GSMA news. And what did they show to motivate this? And there is some fine print that also illustrates that. So the results open doors to exciting new 5G services. And of course, what they showed is some industry automation examples. So we got more clarity on the condition on the certain millimeter wave band. Maybe I should come to a short end here. So, and then I want to just summarize or show some examples around the world. So this is how the situation looks like in Germany now, actually. So this 34237 was options to national service for 100 megahertz is now available for local licensing. And in fact, since I think a month or so, we get from there, it's like a BMW factoring site. And of course, also clear road to provide service here. And another situation I want to highlight is how things look like in the United States, where there is this, also in the C-band, this 355 to 3700, where there is a model, a hierarchical model, which we would call not licensed or not unlicensed, but lightly licensed. This is called CBRS, but it allows a relatively cost-effective license for certain type of users. So, of course, the main frequencies have gone to the operators, but then there is also frequencies reserved both in 46248 and 28 to use in of these frequencies to enterprise reserve. So if you look at the world, so there is a solution to deploy industry-grade wireless network around the world, and of course it looks a little bit different. Either it's the blue, which for example is Germany and Japan, or there is that CSP spectrum, and of course unlicensed is always possible. So then now sort of trials, so one which is the biggest industry fair, so there was a large deployment of 5G. Still sort of released 50 non-standalone, not what we would call industrial 5G, but of course to play around and see the use cases with some of the big industry players. And then of course there is the roadmap to develop the industry, so this has been talked about, the 3GP roadmap, especially the release 17 version of the standard. It started with release 60, but release 17 of the standard. One can say it has the full industrial 5G standard. So everything that we would see in terms of time-sensitive network, as Afif also highlighted, in terms of private deployment, in terms of reliability. So all of this is fully supported by that version of the standard. So to conclude my talk, so today this industrial it's happening. It starts on 4G mostly, and of course we see momentum on 5G in general and in Korea in particular. And then on industrial 5G, of course, we have a lot of industry activities like 5G ACA, like 3GP, but also then trial to understand really the use cases. And tomorrow we will have that full industrial 5G, and that will, as a technology, complete for.
Thank you.